Hi everyone, we will discuss about acute osteomyelitis. Acute osteomyelitis, infection by a microorganism. Most commonly, which microorganism like Staphylococcus is the most common organism for acute osteomyelitis, and other organism like Streptococcus and Pneumococcus are the other organism causing acute osteomyelitis. Okay. The normally the bone has epiphysis, metaphysis and diaphysis. Epiphysis is the topmost or the bottommost of the bone, which will be like a round shaped or a irregular shape, and metaphysis will consist of which lies just below to the epiphysis, and it will contain a growth plate, and the diaphysis which lies below the metaphysis, and again the metaphysis with the growth plate, and the last stage is called as epiphysis. Okay. On coming to the acute osteomyelitis, the bacterial growth will be abundant in the area where there is increased number of blood supply. So acute osteomyelitis is common in the area of metaphysis, where there is highly this is called an highly vascularized zone. So the acute osteomyelitis occurs in the metaphyseal region. From the metaphyseal region, there is above the metaphysis you can see a growth plate between the epiphysis and the metaphysis. When the infection happens here, the pus cannot go beyond the growth plate. The growth plate will act as a barrier. Okay, and this is artery and vein which forms like hairpin arrangements. So the blood stasis is common here, so that the accumulation of bacteria occurs here. So in acute osteomyelitis, the most common region involved is metaphyseal region. Okay, this diagram A shows the femorotibial joint, in which there is it's showing the metaphysis, epiphysis, and the epiphysis and metaphysis of tibia and femur. From the growth plate, there is a cartilage attaching to the either side of the growth plate. So this is the A is an extra-articular. Whenever the metaphysis involves, the pus can't reach the joint inside the joint, so it is a extra-articular. Whenever acute osteomyelitis occurs, it occurs as extra-articular type. Suppose in case of femur, the epiphysis, metaphysis, and there is a ligament, the joint capsule which is attached along with the metaphysis. So when the infection occurs in the acute osteomyelitis, the infection can spread to the joint by invading going out of the joint. See this is an example of involving the metaphyseal region of with the numerous pus which exits out and reaches the joint surface, so that it leads to acute arthritis, pyogenic arthritis of a joint. So intra-articular type, which is more severe than an extra-articular type. Which are the bones which is involved most commonly in the acute osteomyelitis is shown in this diagram. The diagram with dark red or most commonly involved, like distal femur, proximal femur, distal tibia, proximal tibia, and the least common or with normal the humerus, ribs, sacrum, pelvis are least commonly involved, and the percentage is mentioned on the slide. Okay, when the acute osteomyelitis occurred in the metaphyseal region, you can see the diagram in the medullary cavity. The center, which is where there is a pus. The arrow which represent down, the pus may go along to the medullary axis and reach the metaphysis. It can reach the diaphyseal region. B can go to the outer cortex. It can there is a canal called Volkmann. There is a canal called Volkmann canal, which in which there is a connection between the inner surface of the bone to the periosteum. Through that Volkmann canal, the pus can come and settle in the periosteal region, and it may produce that lift off, and it damages the blood supply in the periosteal region, so that the sequestrum the bone is formed. In other direction, it can't invade the growth plate, so it can't go above or inside the capsule. It can't, since it is an extra-articular type, it can't reach the joint surface. This is regarding pathology. In sometimes rarely, the epiphyseal plate can be also ruptured, and it can also reach the joint. This is a diagram which I have explained before. This is A represents the healthy bone, C represents the involucrum, and D represents the sinus tract, and E is the sequestrum which comes out. It should be removed. On coming to the diagnosis, patient with acute osteomyelitis will classically come with complaints of pain, redness, and heat in the metaphyseal area of the bone. One may even find abscess collection. Abscess collection is like pus collection. When the pus is collected in the metaphyseal region of the bone, it looks, when we palpate, there will be like a swelling which denotes abscess formation in the metaphyseal region. Okay, acute osteomyelitis most commonly affect the children. Present on the basis of when a child appears to an OPD, and with symptoms like fever and bone pain on the metaphyseal region, swelling at the metaphyseal region, and history of slip and fall, So with the history of fall, with the history of like a open fracture, anything from the outer surface can reach the inner surface of the bone, and it may also cause an infection. By history and examination, we can clinically assess it is an acute osteomyelitis. Then we can proceed on to the X-ray investigation. In X-ray, we will see the periosteal newborn formation in the periosteum, and you can see the periosteal newborn formation in the newborn formation, and periosteal reaction also we can see in at the metaphyseal region. I can show you X-ray. This is X-ray finding. This is an X-ray of acute osteomyelitis in a 7-year-old child in the distal tibia in the metaphyseal region. Patient came with complaints of pain and swelling. On examination, there was little bit swelling, and which was the range of movements like patient can't move her foot, which was very painful. So we proceeded with X-ray, and which showed in the metaphysis. I think you can see there is a dark color in the tibial bone, which resembles the osteomyelitis of tibia. And this is the lateral X-ray. You can see that round color in the distal end of the tibia. So this is a classical example of acute osteomyelitis. After X-ray, we can go for a blood culture sensitivity. which shows culture sensitivity, which shows organism, and blood investigation like ESR can be done. ESR, CRP, any infection, there will be ESR will be elevated and CRP will be positive. Coming on to the differential diagnosis, the three or four main things to be differentiated from acute osteomyelitis. Patient with acute poliomyelitis will have there will be severe fever, and there will be fever for both common in acute osteomyelitis and acute poliomyelitis, but there will be tender at the muscle region. There won't be any tenderness over the bone. There will be severe tenderness in the muscle. To differentiate from acute septic arthritis, patient will complain of very severe pain, and there will be tenderness and swelling. Very warmth will be present. Any slight movement over the joint surface will cause severe pain. In case we can even aspirate, if we are very doubtful to differentiate septic arthritis and an osteomyelitis, we can even aspirate and see. And the fluid can be sent for culture sensitivity sampling. Everything can be done. To differentiate from acute rheumatoid arthritis, in rheumatoid arthritis there will be involvement of small joints, and it will be in symmetrical by history itself, and morning stiffness, everything will be present. By history itself we can differentiate from acute rheumatoid arthritis. In case of scurvy, scurvy they may mimic, but there won't be a severe pain or tenderness and fever. So it is very obvious to differentiate from scurvy. On coming upon to the management, any patient, most commonly the acute osteomyelitis occurs in the child. We have to differentiate whether the child has come within 48 hours of the onset of symptom, or brought after 48 hours of onset of the symptom. If a child presents before 48 hours, we should whenever the child arrived, we confirmed with the diagnosis of acute osteomyelitis. We have to start at that time itself. We have to start on antibiotics. Depending upon the age of the child. When the child is less than 4 months, we can start on ceftriaxone and vancomycin. If the child is greater than 4 months, we can start on ceftriaxone and cloxacillin. And then after 3 or 4 days, we have to send after starting antibiotics, we have to send at the time itself. We have to send for culture sensitivity. Because the culture sensitivity will take at least for 2 to 3 days for the report, we have to continue the same antibiotics. After the report of culture sensitivity, if it shows sensitive to all organism, we can continue with the same antibiotic. If it shows resistance to some of the antibiotics, we have to change according to the sensitive antibiotic which is sensitive to the organism. This is before 48 hours. And management of symptoms should be done accordingly. Like for pain, we can give analgesics. For fever, we have to monitor the temperature for 4th hourly, and we can add paracetamol because the patient will be having pain on movements. So we should support the limb with a splint or complete rest. Like a splint is a device which is like an immobilizer, which won't allow the joint to move, so it might reduce the pain. So appropriate management of symptoms should be done. After administration, till now the antibiotic should be administered in IV route. After the patient symptoms subsides, and which indicates that treatment is successful. When the pain fever will subside, patient can start to can be started to move or mobilize in the sense of like moving the trunk in the cot, right and left, and making him to sit and again lie back. And patient should not weight bear on his affected limb, so he can use his other limb to walk. Non-weight bearing walking, this is called as non-weight bearing walking. It should be followed for like 6 to 8 weeks. After that partial weight bearing, like initial weight bearing in the toes should be advised. After that, full weight bearing should be advised. For initial 4 weeks, patient should be on IV antibiotics. After not 4 weeks, ideally like 2 to 4 weeks, IV antibiotics. If the symptoms improves after 4 weeks, we have to start on oral route of antibiotics for 6 weeks, then we can stop. If in case the child is brought after 48 hours or not responding to conservative management, like whatever we have given antibiotics, they are not responding to it, we have to operate the patient. We can like we should surgical exploration and drainage of the pus which is situated. We should drain it. Sometimes we can't able to palpate where the pus is exactly situated. So if it is very difficult, we can go for ultrasound. And in ultrasonography, the fluid filled areas and the abscess and pus which are clearly visible with that report and the exact location of the pus to be identified, and then the drainage should be done. After the drainage, the drained particles and the collected pus should be sent for culture sensitivity, and depending upon the report, we can start on appropriate antibiotics. Rest and antibiotic hydration should be continued post-operatively also. On going to the complication, septicemia, septicemia can happen, inflammation of the body from acute osteomyelitis. The most common leading complication is chronic osteomyelitis. Chronic osteomyelitis is a condition where there is poor host resistance and delay in if there is delay in diagnosis, and there will be sequestral formation also in chronic osteomyelitis. It is the most common complication which has been elicited after acute osteomyelitis. Then pyogenic arthritis, which has been told already and explained. It is an intra-articular type. In case of a classical examination of hip joint, in case of femur osteomyelitis, it can rupture and reaches the joint, and it can create a pyogenic osteoarthritis. Pathological fractures, in case if suppose the pathological fracture, if the metaphyseal region involved, it may reaches the diaphyseal region also, so that the bone will be weakened and pathological fracture can also happen. The growth plate will not allow the pus to enter into the. Sometimes growth plate also can disrupt, and the pus can enter into the region, and it may cause severe damage, like shortening or lengthening or deformity of the, since the joint is involved, like a femur joint, which is a big joint which has been involved, so that there will be a limb lengthening or there will be a limb shortening, because and it may also cause a pathological fracture. So all these things are there. So thank you guys for watching.